Okay guys, you're gonna start the vehicle to see if the airbag light goes off. If it stays on, it might definitely indicate a problem with the clock spring. If the router doesn't work, or if any of the controls for the radio don't work, it is very likely that the clock spring is faulty. If you've got a diagnostics tool, you might want to confirm that. We're just gonna remove the covers now to replace the clock spring. Cover on this side of the steering wheel and on the opposite side. They just clip off with a small flat screwdriver. No screws at this stage. You're going to use a T30 spline to loosen the screw. The screw won't come off. You're just going to loosen it, and then the other side. You're going to pull open the airbag, but be careful, you still got to disconnect it. Small flat screwdriver, pull up that yellow plastic tab, disconnect. The other terminal also has got a small pin that you got to push in and disconnect. You can put it aside. Make sure the wheels are straight, steering wheel straight. This is actually important, we'll discuss this. 19 socket and a short extension works just fine. Loosen the nut. You don't want to take out the nut all the way, just loosen it. In a moment I'm going to hit the steering wheel to shock it, to make it loose. Sometimes these steering wheels are very tight. Hitting it, and then I'm going to pull it, give it a quick tuck. It's going to come loose. If you don't do it like this, that's why I'm leaving the nut on. You might hit yourself in the face. It sounds quite silly, but believe me, this happens. Disconnect those two connectors. You can remove the nut now. Gently take off the steering wheel. Next, two Phillips screws, remove them. Remove the covers. The top one can come off, the bottom one just lower it. Next, remove those two connectors at the bottom. The one just pushes in and comes off. That yellow one was never clipped in. It came off way too easy. You're supposed to push back on that tab. Nonetheless, we're going to still replace this clock spring. It's got 3 black hooks. That's part of the mold. Unclip them. Vehicles with VSC like this one has got a steering angle sensor, which we are going to unplug just now. Be careful because you're going to reuse this sensor and it's quite expensive. You're going to take it off. There are 4 hooks, I think. Just pry them open real gently and clip off the sensor. There you go. Connectors. We've got this one with the 2 connectors, the smaller one and the bigger one. The bigger one is for the controls, for the radio and such. This type I'm showing you now doesn't have that bigger connector, so it won't work for the controls. It'll still work for the airbag, but the controls on the radio won't work from the steering wheel. This type I'm showing you now, that's exactly the same. That orange pin is to prevent the spiral from spinning all around because it can break. Let me show you quickly. 1, 2.5 rotations. Half. 1, 2. That's all it takes. If it turns more than that, it breaks. The yellow connector, supposed to clip in proper, and then just slide backwards. I just wanted to show you this real quick. If the vehicle doesn't have VSC, you're just going to connect it like such. Obviously then the white connector won't be used. In this case, I'm just going to take it off again, and I'm going to install the sensor again. I wasn't paying attention here. I wasn't lining up everything properly. Like you can see, that white ring on the inside it's got pins that's got to line up, which I will show you in just a moment. There are gaps in the plastic at the bottom. There you can see them. They've got a line there with those pins. And also those pins and those holes have got to align. Then it just clips in real quick. Make sure that it fits proper. Clip it in properly. Connect it first. You might want to connect it first if you're struggling to get it in. There you go. Yellow connector. Make absolutely sure that it clips. You will hear it clicking. Also the other connector, make sure that it clicks. You can remove the orange tab. 19 socket. Short extension. You can tighten it. You might need somebody to help you just to hold the steering wheel. I would advise not tightening it all the way, because you're still going to drive it back and forth. For the moment, I'm just connecting the airbag. This is to prevent fault codes from occurring. If, for instance, you replaced it only for the router that's not working. It's just for fault code clearing. Connect the battery. And then you're just going to drive the vehicle on a straight road, even not a long distance, maybe 10 or 20 meters, just back and forth, just to see if the vehicle is going straight with the steering wheel in a straight line. Just make space for yourself there. I just quickly closed the bonnet. Okay. Once you've ensured that the steering wheel is straight, you can just plug in everything. I just removed it to get the steering wheel straight, and then just make sure that you tighten the wheel properly. Again, you might need, it'll be helpful to have an assistant just hold the wheel for you when you tighten it, and please make sure you tighten it properly. Be careful there. Plug in the connectors and make sure the wires are tucked away so they won't pinch someplace. Those two screws that you removed earlier, just push them back like I'm doing there, just to ensure that the airbag fits properly in its place. And then you're going to go ahead and tighten the screws. I've tightened the screws. Excuse me, I'm still busy. You might want to press down slightly on the airbag. It just helps a bit with getting the screws in place. And those panels, those covers that I removed earlier, I've had them installed. When you're going to start the vehicle now, oh, excuse me, I'm just going to do that again. Switch on, start the vehicle, the light comes on, and it should go out. It should go off now. It goes off. If it doesn't go off, you might need to use a diagnostics tool, and it might need to be cleared actually. On some vehicles, you actually need to clear the fault for it to go off. The diagnostics port is just there at the bottom. The only thing that's left to do now is to install those panels again. Just make sure it clips in at the back properly, and then in front it'll clip in nicely, nice and tight. Turn the steering wheel, Phillips screw this side, turn it, put the other one on the other side, and then you're basically done. To test it, obviously the airbag light must be off when it's running, hooter must be working, and the controls must be able to adjust the volume and such on the radio. Thanks guys.